The Beginner's Guide to Friendship Bracelets is a collection of photo tutorials for beginners that will take you all the way from the basics to the more advanced stuff. It is now available for purchase worldwide anywhere you typically buy books, and there is also a direct link in the description. Hello, my name is Masha, and today I'm going to teach you how to make this gorgeous friendship bracelet. I really love this one, and it is so summery. Just look at it. I mean, isn't it beautiful? This bracelet is a lot of fun, but it's definitely not a beginner-friendly tutorial, just because there's quite a few steps in it. If you are a beginner, I recommend starting with my beginner's guide video, maybe trying a chevron for your first pattern, or checking out my beginner-friendly playlist. Going into this tutorial, I expect that you know how to make the basic knots, have made several bracelets before, and are quite familiar with the process overall. So I'll be going a little bit faster in this one than in my beginner tutorials. For this bracelet, you need 4 colors, 3 of which are black, white, and yellow, and the 4th is the color of the background. I went with the green here. Cut 2 strings for the black and 2 strings for the yellow. You need 4 strings of the white and 6 strings for the background color. All of the strings should be roughly 1 meter in length. I started my bracelet with a triangle end. I have a separate tutorial on triangle ends which will be linked in the card and in the description. The only thing that you need to know is the string order, which I will explain. Also, don't forget to leave about 10 to 15 centimeters of string to make ties out of later. Mine are just off frame underneath my layers of tape. The string order for this bracelet is symmetrical. We start off with 2 strings of white, 2 strings of the background color, the black, the yellow, and then the last string is going to be the background color. And it's the same on both sides. So make sure your strings are in this order for this tutorial. We start the bracelet in a reverse chevron shape. Because we're going to be finishing this tutorial with a chevron shape, there are going to be some overlapping knots here. Some of the knots that we make in the start here are going to be knots that you would theoretically make when you're going to be finishing with that chevron. Just keep that in mind if you're repeating the tutorial, and hopefully that should be relatively intuitive for you because the strings are all the same color. But I will repeat this as we grow closer to the end as well. So what is a reverse chevron shape exactly? Well, first of all, we need to do it for 4 of these strings. So it's going to be 2 reverse chevrons and not just 1. But you start by selecting the 2 strings that are in the center, which are these 2 strings for me. You make a knot between them, then one of the strings goes all the way to the right in forward knots along each of the strings individually until it reaches the edge. The other string is going to go all the way to the left in backward knots, making a backward knot along each of the strings individually until it reaches the edge. Once that's done, these 2 strings are going to be on the edge, and we're going to have 2 new white strings in the center. And we're going to do the same thing for that. It's going to be 2 reverse chevrons. Let's get to it. That first knot that you make is always going to be a little bit more difficult if you're connecting the 2 triangle ends. So just be very careful with the first knot. You might be thinking that you're done with the reverse chevrons. You would be wrong. We need to make 2 more reverse chevrons, this time with all of this green string in the center, or whatever background color you have chosen. So again, you start with the 2 strings that are in the center, you do a reverse chevron with them, then these 2 strings are going to become the strings in the center for the next row, and you do a reverse chevron with them. So 2 more reverse chevrons and we can finally start the bee. After all of those reverse chevrons, we are ready to start the bee. We are going to start in the center, just focused on 4 of the strings in the center. It should be 2 of the black strings and 2 of the yellow strings. We need to make a diamond shape with the black string here, which means we make a knot in between the 2 black strings in the center. Then the one on the left does a backward forward knot onto the yellow string. The one on the right does a forward backward knot onto this yellow string. And then they meet in the center again and do a knot between them again. So the 2 black strings do another knot between them. So forward knot, forward backward knot, backward forward knot on the left, and then another forward knot. That's the diamond shape. If this happens to you and a string pops out where it's not supposed to, I have a yellow string that popped out here, I'm just going to place my finger on the bracelet and pull on that yellow string, and it pops right back into place, and I can continue doing what I was doing. Unless it pops out again, in which case I'll tighten it one more time. Now let's focus on the yellow strings and the green strings next to them, or the background strings next to them. We need to make a knot of green onto the yellow string. So for this side on the left, it would mean that the green string does a forward-backward knot. On this side on the right, it would mean that the green string does a backward-forward knot. Either way, you need to make sure that your knot is green in between these two pairs of strings. Forward-backward knot on the left side, backward-forward knot on the right side. Then we can focus on the yellow strings again, and they're going to do a tiny little chevron. This yellow string does a forward knot, this yellow string does a backward knot. They meet in the center and make a knot between them, which I usually make a forward knot. Except I decided to make a backward knot this time. We come back to the white string. For some reason I decided to show you the right side first. That's fine. You can do the left side first. It doesn't really matter. But you take the white string that is closest to the green string that's closest to the center. That was a weird way of explaining it. These two strings. And the white string is going to make a backward forward knot on the green string, then a forward knot on the next white string, and then a forward backward knot on the green string after that. So the white string does a backward forward knot, a forward knot, and a forward backward knot. Same thing on the left side, except with opposite knots. So the white string does a forward backward knot onto the green string, a backward knot onto the white string, and a backward forward knot onto the green string after that. Forward backward, backward, backward forward. We come back to the center again. We can put all of those white and green strings off to the side so that they're not in the way. And we're focusing on the black strings, and they're doing somewhat of a chevron, but not quite. They're starting with a reverse knot. This black string starts with a forward backward knot, then does a backward knot, where it will then meet the other black string and do a knot between them. This black string starts with a backward forward knot, then does a forward knot, and then meets that other black string in the center. So somewhat of a chevron, it's just we're starting with a reverse knot to make sure that our black strings are pointed towards the center. We're now going to go towards the edge and focus on the two pairs of green string that we have on the edge. We're going to make a backward knot on the right side and a forward knot on the left side. Then we're going to focus on the white strings again. This white string is going to do a backward forward knot and then two forward knots. Same thing on this side, except with opposite knots. The white string does a forward backward knot and then two backward knots. Now we focus back into the center. The yellow string are going to do this weird chevron, not chevron thing, where we start with a reverse knot. So the yellow string on the right starts with a forward backward knot, the yellow string on the left starts with a backward forward knot, and then they do a regular chevron and meet in the center. We've just got the last part of the wing left. So this white string does a backward forward knot and then one forward knot. And then on the left we do the same thing but with opposite knots. So this white string does a forward backward knot and then a backward knot. And then we've got one last weird non-chevron to do with the black strings. Again, the string on the right starts with a forward backward knot, the string on the left starts with a backward forward knot, and then they do a regular chevron. We now have to do a chevron with the green strings. So those green strings that are on the edges of this section, so the ones that are kind of coming out of that wing, they're going to do a chevron. So it should be 3 knots, and then meet in the center. Now we have an entire full row of just the regular chevron, and we do this with the outermost green strings. But we actually do 2 more rows of regular chevron after that with the 2 white strings. So in reality, we do 3 rows of just the chevron. These are the easiest 3 rows of this pattern, I think. We've got just a tiny bit left until the pattern repeats. These 2 parts are going to be symmetrical, so I start by explaining the left side. Put the 2 white strings off to the side, we're not going to need them. Grab the outermost background string and make 4 forward knots with it. Now the yellow string is going to make a forward knot, a forward backward knot, and then a backward knot. And finally, this green string is going to go all the way in backward knots, which should just be 3 knots. And the same thing on the right side, except opposite knots. The outermost string does 4 backward knots. The yellow string does a backward knot, a backward forward knot, and a forward knot. And then this green string does 3 forward knots. And that's it, the repeating part of the pattern is complete. The only thing that I want you to pay attention to now is the fact that I told you at the beginning to start with a reverse chevron. Some of the knots that we did at the beginning of this tutorial have already been done because we just did this chevron. The reverse chevron is going to come out, and this kind of diamond in the center are those overlapping knots. So instead, when you're repeating the pattern, you're still doing the reverse chevron shape. You're just not starting with the 2 strings in the center. You're in fact starting with the 2 white strings that are closer to the outside. These will be the first 2 strings that you make a reverse chevron with, and then the strings in the center. So that's the only difference. Otherwise, you can rewind this tutorial to the beginning. There's timestamps in the description to make it easier for you, and you can repeat the bracelet as many times as you need for it to reach the length that you want. To finish this bracelet in a triangle end, I would simply finish after you do that chevron of white. So before you do the separator part that I just explained. That is the perfect way to finish this bracelet to mirror the way that we started. And because it is in the shape of a chevron, that's the shape that you need to make a triangle end. If you need a refresher on how to make triangle ends to finish a bracelet, it is covered within the same triangle ends tutorial that shows you how to start it. That video is linked in the description for you. I'm gonna go finish this bracelet off camera, and I'll see you once I'm done. And this is how the bracelet turned out. I absolutely love it. This is probably one of my favorite patterns I've ever made. I just love bees. I think that they are gorgeous in any kind of design, and they really give a bracelet kind of a summery feel. Honestly, I'm debating making more of these, but I really shouldn't. I have so many more bracelets to make. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I would love to see your recreations, so send them to me on Instagram or on Discord. I always love to see your bracelets. My book, The Beginner's Guide to Friendship Bracelets, which is a collection of photo tutorials, is out now. It is out worldwide. You can get it anywhere you typically buy books, and there is also a direct link in the description. And my publisher can help you out with international shipping if you're having troubles. I also want to give a special shout out to my patrons and especially my top supporters. It is with their support that I'm able to continue creating videos on this channel, and I truly appreciate that. If you want to become a patron and support the work that I do here, the link to that is in the description as always. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!